Welcome to Speculative Sandbox, your audio playground for creative storytellers. My name is Vickie Lan, and for each episode, I and a guest will unpack a trope with an eye for character development and narrative structures. Except for this episode, because it's just me, I'm back and I'm on video, available on YouTube and Spotify. So it's been a really long time since I've done this. I think if you don't count my rewinds, I would say about a year since I last recorded an episode. This is very new for me, this format. This is probably new for you as returning listeners. And for newcomers, thank you so much for checking out this podcast. This episode's going to be a little different than the episodes I typically record with my guests, but I thought it was worth coming on first to kind of explain what the heck happened for the past year and where I'm at and where we're going. So, for those that were keeping an eye on me and were engaging online and social media, knew that I was dealing with some health issues, specifically nerve pain in my neck and shoulder. And so I had to take some time off. I had to take some time off to heal, to consult with different doctors. I had to stop reading. I had to stop using my phone. I had to stop looking down. I had to do a lot of things, and it was a very long process, and I'm still healing. I'm not 100%. So, um, to basically explain what I had to get away from podcasting a little bit because of just the amount of work that I was putting into all aspects of my life. And at the same exact time, my book went to a new agent and we had a pretty heavy revision schedule. So I kind of wanted to focus on that. Turns out my neck and shoulder issues come from just years and years of tension from hyperfixation. I am definitely a high performer. I would say that my hyperfixation is on learning new things, and I'm someone who can't rest just knowing a little bit of something. I put my entire heart and soul and energy and posture into whatever it is that I'm into. And so I had to kind of reteach myself how to moderate my projects. And so, yeah, during this past year, I focused on other things. I focused on writing my book. I changed agents about a year ago. I changed agents. My new agent had the ability to look at feedback from publishing houses, and we rewrote about 75% of the story. And that was quite a scary experience going into it because I didn't know if I was capable of doing it. I thought I'd already put my heart and soul into this one book, and here I am re-examining it and seeing if I can better its chances for a traditional publishing house. But my agent, Allie Herring, was 100% supportive. Um, she was amazing. She was in there anytime I sent her feedback. She was so attentive. And when we finally finished 6 months later, I felt such a sense of accomplishment just knowing that I was able to finish that. So that's done. One project off of my list. But even then, I wasn't sure about how to come back to the podcast, just because at this point I've been feeling I've been kind of grappling with my creative identity, so to say. So I'm still writing. I'm trying to find my next passion project manuscript. And boy, have I tried. I have 8 to 10 different stories, thousands of words dedicated to a number of them, and I just keep kind of trying to figure out what is the story that I want to tell next. And it turns out I'm really good at coming up with synopses and stories and arcs and everything. But then after I finish it all, I stop and I go, but is this the story I want to come from me? And I don't know. And part of me wondered if I had a little bit of burnout. And then part of me felt really guilty because how could I come back to a podcast, interviewing authors, speaking from a position of experience when the identity of author I didn't feel like I could truly claim yet because I don't have anything out. Then I went to Tucson Comic Con and I spoke with uh, authors there, artists there, some people that have had traditional deals, people that have worked with Netflix, people that have experience in the industry professionally, not just indie. And it made me realize, it kind of helped me reevaluate where I stand and how I identify myself. There are amazingly talented people out there who were able to experience a little bit of the traditional industry, whether it was Hollywood or the book industry. But the way the industry has been, it's challenging. It's challenging to sustain a career in there. And so many of these talented, amazing artists and writers have their indie presence, their platform. They continue to build what makes them happy for themselves, and then they go and they travel and they're at conferences and they're able to express that side of them and build their following that way. And it made me realize, even if my book doesn't get traditionally published, that's the way I think I want to take it, because I want to I want to build something. I want to build something that puts me face to face with other creatives and interactive people. That's why I love Tucson Comic Con. So it was very, very inspirational to talk to these artists, and it kind of made me think, maybe I should stop trying to put this huge label on myself as author, right? That was my goal. I wanted to be an author, and an author who happens to have a podcast. That was my end goal. But maybe instead of putting so much weight on the expectation that I am an author with a capital A, maybe I am something broader than that, who also wrote a book. And that started to make me feel a little bit more comfortable grasping my identity in relation to having this podcast. I love talking to people. I love learning from people. I think one of my skills that I've developed is creating those conversations that feel authentic and kind of dig deep into a lot of questions that we ask ourselves about humanity, about behaviors. And to me, that's fun. Like that doesn't feel like a phase to me, like my painting phase or my knitting phase. That's something that's ingrained in me. And I thought to myself, maybe that's who I am. Maybe I am a storyteller. I ask questions, and through that lens, I also write books and I have conversations with other creatives to talk about the beautiful thing that we all do, which is writing and creating. So with that in mind, I felt a lot more confident about coming back, acknowledging what I've managed to accomplish on the side, knowing that there's still a whole lot of things ahead of me, take some of that pressure off of myself, and yeah, reconnect with the community. So this is me being a lot more open, trying to embrace my authentic side. Usually, I get really nervous about having solo episodes because I have no one to vibe off of, and you're just listening to me. And I have a perfectionist mindset, and if I'm not perfectly speaking in prose that I would have edited beforehand, I worry. But I've been hearing a lot of podcasts too that are live or treated live, and there's some beautiful authenticity that comes out of that. And I thought to myself, maybe this is a new challenge for me that I should definitely embrace and grow from. So that's what we have. So what to expect now that Speculative Sandbox is back? For one thing, I needed to watch myself as far as how intense I get into something. Now, as you're all familiar with this podcast, there's production value to it. I put a lot of work and care into how the topics are presented, but it was a lot of hours spent, and knowing myself, it's fun. And then I get kind of downward spiral into the focus. And before you know it, my neck and my shoulders start hurting again. So I promised myself, if I'm going to come back, I want to create a process that was accommodating to that as much as possible while still leaning on the strengths of this podcast. So with that being said, I've already was interviewing people through Zoom, and Zoom has a great recording tool, and so I'm going to keep that. Um, as a result, I'll be uploading that video directly to the podcasting streaming sites and YouTube. I believe the video is supported on Spotify and YouTube. Otherwise, if you're listening to me on Apple Podcasts, you're probably just hearing my voice. But if you're tuning in on the other platforms, you're going to see my face behind a microphone. And right now, I have my little podcast graphic right next to me, which makes me feel very news anchory, actually. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. And I'll pull back on the editing and the production and just zero in on the conversation. And I've been doing a lot more live events, and that is literally live. So it kind of forces me to think in a specific way that enables a live recording, basically, versus one where you assume because it's going to be recorded, there's a bit of a safety net, I suppose you could say. So it's a little more thrilling. It's a little more thrilling and but I'm excited and I hope that my guests are also excited and it's something for us to kind of laugh and have joy and just kind of have a fun conversation. Okay. So minimal production. I think my biggest sadness as a result of this is I loved putting together those great sound bites from the guests with music. I thought it was such a great hook. But I'll still be sharing excerpts just like that now with video on social media. So I think that's going to make for a much more engaging platform. Additionally, for people who've been listening for a while and have been guests on my show, I used to put a lot of graphic design on social media. Due to the algorithms, they just don't perform as well anymore and work smarter, not harder, I always say. So a lot of my content on there is going to shift over to the videos. That will hopefully get more exposure for both of us and pay off in the end. The individual episodes will still have their own graphic design covers, and I'll provide that to my guests, and those will be available whenever you view. I think there's certain podcasting platforming sites that support those different visuals. Otherwise, I think Apple Podcast shows the same cover art for every single episode. All right. And then for my guests, this is for my returning and my new guests. So excited to have these conversations again. Um, you can expect about a week out from your scheduled recording date, an outline and the questions. So everyone goes in prepared and rest assured that they're not going to walk into this interview blind. All right. So that covers where I've been, my mindset for coming back, and what to expect. So I thought I'd provide a little content in addition and talk about some things that I'm loving right now. So, as I have these 8 to 10 stories that are sitting in my files, and I keep staring and jumping around in them and trying to figure out if it sparks that next passion, I've been consuming as much creative content as possible, specifically content that feels different or has a different twist. So I thought I'd share that with you. One that I really got into and binged really quickly. AMC, I'm guessing, has a new partnership with Netflix because suddenly AMC shows are all over Netflix. Kevin Can F Himself is amazing. It's a genre blending, and by genre, I mean like cinematically, storytelling wise, it blends sitcom filming with the dramatic filming of Breaking Bad, for example. The premise is about a woman who's in an abusive relationship. So Kevin is the husband. And anytime they are in a scene with Kevin, it's filmed like a 90s, early 2000s sitcom. So very over the top, very laugh track based. And when he's not there, the filming shifts to the dramatic single cam that we're familiar with today's TV shows. It's really remarkable because they're kind of making a point. The point is there was a lot of abuse hidden behind laugh tracks. If you've ever watched Big Bang Theory or Everyone Loves Raymond and you remove the laugh track, everyone is so mean to each other and kind of normalized a weird comedy around dysfunctional families and relationships. And I think in today's cinematic world, we've been embracing the more nuances of flawed relationships and what's so great by using the dramatic side of the show is to really express how harmful this person is. It also is an excellent tool to demonstrate how a abusive narcissistic person may view themselves versus how the people around them view themselves. Um, Kevin's world, he's like the funniest guy in the room. He's hilarious. The world's all bright and cheery and colorful. Everyone else, it's darker, more shadows, more dramatic, and he's completely unaware of that, lacks the true connection with them. So I really like that show. Highly recommend. There's only 2 seasons. I think, I don't remember how many episodes, less than 10 per season. So it's an easy binge and just really, really fascinating to watch. And I have to give a great big shout out to the gentleman who plays Kevin. He is from Broadway. He played Shrek and he is so talented. I definitely give it a look. Another show I'm loving right now is sadly one that was canceled. It's My Lady Jane. In essence, the story isn't original in that it's a retelling of Lady Jane Grey, but it is an alternative history and it has a very interesting impression or interpretation of the Catholic Protestant rift as shown by normal people, I guess you can say, and people who can turn into animals. And it's a comedy. It's sensational. I love it. I'm devastated it's been canceled, but there's been quite a few attempts to right now people are trying to bring it back, so we'll see where that goes. And then I'm carrying on with my TV shows that got canceled, watching Manny Jacinto in The Acolyte. As a fellow Asian American, I am always so excited when I see a person from the Asian American Pacific Islander community reach a huge role like what Manny Jacinto has in The Acolyte. Um, I've seen lots of literature centered around the desirable male figure and being portrayed by an Asian man. So, very excited about that. He's wonderful to look at. And if Manny, if you happen to listen to this podcast, I'll interview you. Let's talk about characters. Um, okay. And then I've been really getting into screenwriting. In fact, one of the projects I did instead of picking a new passion project was I started converting my book that's on submission into a TV show pitch. So I wrote I wrote the pilot and I haven't gotten to writing the series Bible itself, but I have a 50 page pilot and it's just sitting there. I'm like, maybe I'll do something with that. I don't know. But, who knows? Maybe there's an indie production company out there that's looking for writers, and I've got something very original ready to go for that. Finally, what am I loving right now? I'm reconnecting with authors again, and I am loving it. So my next week's episode is going to come out, and you're going to see the live recording of a discussion I had at the Stacks Book Club, a local bookstore here, who does amazing events and supports authors, both traditional and indie. So, yeah, more to come for that too. Also, I'm reading your works, which is amazing. So I've got a couple books that I have to read anyway when I do the live interviews, but a few of you have offered to send me your books, which I'm very grateful for. And I try to read as much as possible. It's not something I can guarantee for everybody, unfortunately, just because I don't have enough time in a day. I also, again, it's the same mindset as making sure I'm not too fixated on something that could affect my posture. It takes me a really long time to read a book, actually. It's getting better, but I think I read a book that took me almost 2 months to read just because I had to really pace myself. So, yeah, I'm always happy to read books. I can't make that promise to everybody though. I really wish I could. And I also have to focus on my own writing. So, but I love everything you guys are doing out there, and I'm just thrilled and happy to be part of that community. All right. So, in conclusion, this is a shorter episode, but it was really just meant to be a quick hi and update. There are changes for this podcast. It's going to feel a little different. And I know that sometimes change can be really difficult, but at the same time, I think change can be a welcome evolution. And I'm really excited to see what this becomes over the next year or so as we continue with our episodes. We have some great episodes planned for you already. We have returning guests and new guests. So, to tease you a little bit on what we have coming up, we have an episode called Spice and Everything Nice, where we talk about the different levels of spice you might find in a book, particularly smut fiction. I'll be interviewing a therapist about that. We're going to be looking at perceptions of smut and issues of consent and mental health and relationship expectations. I think that's going to be really, really fascinating. I'm going to be talking about the lawless lawman. That's going to be fun. So thinking samurais and assassins and that kind of thing. Why is it so great to work outside the law? Latinx representation. That'll be a great one. I love to dedicate episodes to a specific marginalized perspective. So I'm very excited to learn more about the Latinx representation in fiction. Additional topics also include antiheroes, time loops, and much more. We're still developing our list. Oh, another thing that will be a little different too is I used to batch out recordings and then release them consecutively. I'm gonna move away from that. I'm gonna release them the next time there's a open Monday, which is nice. So I'm recording this right now on a lunch on Friday. It's gonna come out Monday, the day you're listening to it right now. And so as I record and as there's an open Monday, it'll just get slotted right in there. Again, another way for me to kind of moderate the amount of intensity I put into this just to keep myself safe and uninjured. So, all right. Well, I guess that is it. We'll see where this takes us. I look forward to your comments and feedback. You can always find Speculative Sandbox on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. My email is vickielan@gmail.com. I have my website, vickielan.com, and there's a page on there dedicated to the podcast as well. Love to hear from you. Love to have you on the show. But yeah, this is a podcast that celebrates creatives. We have fun. We dig things, we dig things up and we pull things apart. And that's my most favorite part and why I came back. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.